I'm doing very well. Good. Can you please briefly introduce yourself?
My name is Iyani Hughes. I am now a native of Dothan, Alabama. I work for WTVY Channel 4, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia.
Great. Okay. So on a professional note, can you tell me a bit more about your current position and how you got there?
My current position is with WTVY Channel 4 News, and I am a reporter/producer. I got here from starting in school. I was originally a nursing major, and then somehow throughout the years kind of got transcended into, maybe you should do communications, and I looked into it and actually thought that I would like it. It fit my personality better. And I don't really do blood anyways, so that's a good thing. And so, yeah, that transcended into me being a communication major, I guess. And then after that, the semester before I graduated, I studied abroad in London, UK. Hastings, but it's like right outside of London. Went to the communication school there. I was a foreign exchange student. So 3 students came over here, 3 students went over there. It was for the broadcast journalism program. And we learned from professors who used to work at the BBC, which is kind of like our CNN. I mean, they have CNN too, but it's kind of like how we treat our CNN. So it's one of their like major networks. And we learned everything about the newsroom from auto cues to microphones to cameras to how to read properly to how to speak properly, all those things. So I did that before I graduated. Then I graduated, and then I became a member, tried out for the Tomahawk team for the Atlanta Braves, made that team because I didn't necessarily have a on-camera job after I graduated, and I didn't have a job necessarily set up. And so I made that team, which is basically a brand ambassadorship, and you like dance and throw t-shirts and promote the brand however you can. You also do on-screen features with Fox Sports and Fox Sports Southeast, so I did have a lot of like camera time, which helped me, practice as well. And in between that, I bought my own camera and started practicing, my own camera work outside of that, just to kind of keep myself acclimated with everything that was happening and what I wanted to do. And so I did that for 2 years while working another job. And then through that job, one of my teammates worked at CBS 46 in Atlanta, which is a news station, and she ended up leaving to take another job, and asked me if, I asked her if she was interested in sending me the link for the job that she was leaving from, because I wanted to be, working in news. And she said, yeah. She sent it to me. I applied. She put in a good word of recommendation, and I also knew another anchor from that worked at CBS 46, and he wrote me a recommendation letter. So it kind of worked out. And I got the job there as the digital news content producer trainee. Worked there for about 5-6 months. And during that time, I learned, everything that happens in a newsroom, and as well as applied for jobs while I worked there, because I knew that wasn't going to be permanent. And then during that time, got a job like right before my 6 months hit, and got a call from WTVY who hired me, and then I started in November. And then I forgot to mention, like my senior year of college into 2 years after, which was like recently, I was a ESPN3 coordinator, ESPN3 commentator, game day commentator for women's soccer at Kennesaw State University.
Okay, great. That's awesome. You have a lot of great experience.
Now, yeah. I had to work for it, but yeah, now my resume is looking kind of nice.
Okay, so as far as media and broadcasting goes, when did you realize that this was your passion and your purpose?
In school, and somebody just kind of mentioned to me casually as I'm taking my like undergrad courses, you know, hey, you have a nice voice, you have a nice like personality, whatever. Have you ever considered doing communications? There's so many different things you could do with it, yada, yada, yada. So I didn't really think too much of it, but the more people started kind of promoting that within me, I was like, oh, well, so many people see that in me. Maybe I should look into it. Looked into it and ended up seeing that it fit my personality. And so I started pursuing it from there, like, you know, recording my own stuff, like, not necessarily blogs, but, like, just my own little videos of, you know, things that were on my mind and stuff like that, and also, just, like, making different, like, news stories for my reel, constantly just being in front of the camera. So I guess that's kind of what set it in stone for me, was just how natural it came for me to just talk and be in front of people.
Okay. So, based off of your experiences that you've mentioned, I do know that you have engaged in work in front of the camera as well as behind the camera in positions such as the digital news content producer. Can you name a few things you feel that would set the two positions apart, so front and behind, that may ultimately decide whether or not someone would choose to be in front or behind the camera?
I think as far as you go, your personality would definitely be a big determining factor. I say that because, like, if, you know, you are a strong writer, but you're not necessarily the best in front of the camera, then producing a show or a movie or whatever the case may be more your realm, just because producers basically, I mean, a reporter and an on-air talent, we basically push what the behind-the-scenes people have made up for us. So, like, producer makes the whole show, and what's the word? If you are a strong writer, that's something that could definitely be used in the industry, in the media industry, behind the scenes. And if you're a little shy, or, you know, you're not comfortable in front of the camera, or you don't want to worry about what you look like constantly, you know, that may be something that determines, you know, you want to do the behind the scenes kind of thing. And if you are more of the outgoing personality, you know, you're bubbly, you enjoy being around people, you can get a story out of anybody, you can walk into a jail and make a friend, that's probably meaning you need to be more on camera, just because, you know, you want people to catch you want to catch people's attention, and keep people's attention, keep them engaged, and keep, you know, people into what's happening. So I definitely think personality would be one. I definitely think your work ethic would be something that lets you know if you want to do on air or behind the scenes. And that kind of still ties into personality, because if you are the type of person who, in this industry, you have to meet deadlines constantly. Like, you could be sent on a story or whatever that's an hour away, which was me today, and you have to, you know, go drive there, shoot that story, bring it back, edit it, you know, do all that stuff by the 5 o'clock show. Like, the producers are putting you in the show whether you're ready or not. So if you're the type of person that doesn't like being put, like, crunched for time, that's definitely a determining factor as well. I would do more of the producer side, where you have more time to stack a show or a movie or whatever the case may be, and make it as precise as possible, versus a reporter where you kind of have to just be creative. It's more of a creative process versus a logical, where you put things in order, you can be precise, things like that. So definitely your personality, and definitely your work ethic, and the style of work ethic that you have.
Okay, great. So the other day, I saw, and a whole bunch of other people saw, that you posted a photo of you and Miss Oprah Winfrey.
Yes.
A legend. You posted it on Instagram. Now, many people don't get this once in a lifetime experience, but you did. So can you tell me more about your experience so I can vicariously live through you?
Yeah, it was magical. It was amazing. Miss Oprah Gail Winfrey she's everything that she appears to be on TV, Instagram, social media, all that stuff. She's makeup flawless, hair flawless, personality just genuine. We are a CBS affiliate, my station, and most people know that she does the 60-minute feature on CBS. And so one of our main anchors got a tip from somebody, that she was going to be in town. And if you've ever been through Dothan, Alabama, like on your way to the beach, it is small, like maybe 30,000 people, something like that, I think. It's surrounded by a lot of super tiny towns, that type of environment. Very rural. And so you would never think, if any time to see anybody or any person you're going to see is going to be Oprah freaking Winfrey. So that was like just a once in a lifetime experience. And she walked through the door after we got there, and we were just like she's here standing in the flesh. And it was amazing. We got like a 5-10 minute interview. I shook her hand like 3 times because I just kept shaking her hand, and she asked if we wanted a picture, if I wanted a picture, and I said, yeah, like, of course I do, what do you mean? And we took a picture, and she jetted out the door. It was like the quickest but most memorable 10 minutes of my life. Like, she was on a tight schedule, as presumed, but she made time for us little people, and it was just magical. She was awesome.
Right. And as I told you yesterday, I believe anytime that you're placed in front of people who have done great things like that, whether they're some type of celebrity or civil rights activist, big or small, then you're bound to be blessed, as well as the people around you. So something big is coming up for you.
That's what we're going to hope. We're going to pray.
It's happening. We've claimed it already.
Yes,
it's happening.
We're claiming it. And I slipped her my card, I slipped her pilot my card, said, hey, if you want to give this to her, you can. And wrote a little thank you note for her coming by and covering a story that I did as well, which is on Reese Taylor.
Right.
And so, yeah, she just cares about history. She cares about our people. And she doesn't care how she has to do it, but she still cares about people, even with billions of dollars, which not everybody could probably say that as a billionaire,
Right.
So, yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I believe that you would agree that image and reputation is a big deal working in media, and especially for anyone who's working directly in front of the camera. So as a young woman in her 20s, what are a few things that you do or don't do in order to ensure that your image or reputation stays intact?
I would say we'll start with don't do. Things I don't do, I wouldn't suggest. Nowadays you get more likes for being half naked, and a lot of times people post things, just to get the likes if that's just something that they do. And I would strongly encourage people not to post, things that if you showed your mom, she wouldn't, approve of it, right, kind of thing. Just kind of a standard rule of thumb, or maybe your grandma, because, some moms are a little more lax than others. But, right. Just not necessarily being conservative, but also remembering that you want to be branded in a way that's going to continue to enhance you as a person. So whether that means, not shaking your butt in the video or something like that, or mm-hmm. things that people are used to nowadays, but if you're trying to bring yourself in a positive manner, I think that's very important for you to keep in mind as far as keeping your image clean. I would say one thing that I would suggest that you do is be true to yourself, and also think about what you're trying to do. So, like, if your goal is to, just be a positive influence for people who go to your page, maybe think, posting quotes or, like, something that, inspires you, a piece of food that makes you happy, or, something that's relatable to people. Yeah, it's like clothes. I don't know, whatever is your thing, just stick to whatever your thing is. Like, I consider my thing just like growth and just positivity. There's a lot of things in my life that have happened that literally helped me grow to be so much more mature than what I used to be. So now I go back and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, wow, it's so different. And with that being said, also, like, we've had Instagrams for years and Snapchats and whatever. You can always go back and clean that up. There's a little feature on Instagram now where you can archive stuff. If you have pictures in there of friends that, you really cared about, but you don't necessarily think that actual picture is the best to be on your social media, you can archive it. Like, it's not deleted. It's still on your phone, but it's just archived. And so only you can see it versus your employer, who could look at it and say, oh, I don't know, she's smoking or whatever the case may be, or drinking or whatever in this picture. I don't know if I like that. That way it takes away your chances of, somebody just being judged. Everybody judges. Nobody means to sometimes, or everybody doesn't always mean to, but it's natural. And even if your goal is not to judge, people are going to do it. And our whole entire life, unfortunately, is based off of judgment. And so if you want to be judged in a different light, then that's kind of the image that you have to create for yourself.
Right. Okay. So when I founded the Black Maverick, I was influenced by hearing and seeing negative and harsh ways that people of the Black community, specifically men, women, and children, who were victims of police brutality, and how they were portrayed through the media. And so I read that you have a great skill of producing an unbiased opinion while delivering your stories. However, in a situation delivering a story that's similar to Philando Castile's or 15-year-old Jordan Edwards from Texas, who were both fatally shot by trained police officers, how do you refrain, or how would you refrain from communicating a story with the stereotypical bias that would include like criminal histories and a photo to go along with it, but also getting the main point across without seeming as if you're trying to push your own perspective on viewers?
I think the easiest thing for people to do is automatically jump to race, especially with the political climate that we have currently. It's so easy nowadays for people to say, he's a black male or he's a white male or whatever the case may be. And I think that it would help if we didn't always push race. I know race is always an issue, especially for brown people, because we've had to struggle with it for years. But I think in order to be unbiased, not putting race in it is something that could potentially help. And by that, I mean, if I am showing you I'm telling you a story and I'm showing you a video of a clearly brown, not white man, not white male. He could be Hispanic, Latino, whatever. He's brown. And the officer is clearly not the minority. He is the majority, as they would say. And his skin is lighter, and he's clearly a Caucasian person. I think that it's not necessarily necessary to say, this white cop shot this black person if I'm showing it to you. Now, if I'm not showing it to you and it's on the radio or whatever, that's one thing. I just think race is always going to bring tension. And if I want it to be unbiased, I need to not put biases in there. If I'm stating a fact, it's one thing, but to say, allegedly this white man shot this black, person and they didn't care or whatever, that's being biased, because you don't know, if this was that case or that was that case. But what I think another thing is fact. So one is race, mentioning it when it's necessary and not just because you feel like it's something people want to know. And then the second thing would be factual. A lot of times it's a stereotype that people, don't necessarily trust the news all the time because, they didn't have the facts right, or they told the story without getting all the information, or whatever the case may be. But what people don't understand is that we go off of what you guys tell us. The public tells us the story. It's just our job to portray the story to people. So if they give us, facts that we don't always know, or the police don't give us the entire write-up because they don't have a camera on or whatever, that's all we can go off. So instead of me saying the police allegedly beat, this young African American man, I could say police say they didn't have on a tape, and further investigation is being done to get the cause of the incident or whatever the case may be. Because that way it's straight facts. I'm not giving you things that are opinion. I'm not giving you things that you do or don't need to know. It's just straight, this is all I know. And we're going to, when we find out more information, we will give it to you when it's when it's been proven. So I think just making sure that things are factual, as factual as you can. We're all human. We're going to make mistakes. And sometimes we just get stuff wrong. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It's just you have to be able to fix it. That's the key. You know, you can always go back and say, we were misinformed. That's not what happened. This is. And we know that because such and such police station showed us the video camera. Or, you know, this neighbor caught it all on camera and this is actually what happened. Or, you know, things like that. Just making sure that it's more factual versus, you know, allegedly this happened and that happened, or supposedly this happened or that happened, or so-and-so tells us this happened, that happened, and nobody knows what actually happened. So I think it's difficult to take bias out of stories like that sometimes, especially when it relates to you personally. But our job is to try to be as unbiased as possible. And so I think the biggest thing would be just making sure that you have as many fact checks and many facts, actual facts as possible. And also making sure that you, don't put tensions that aren't necessary into a story.
Okay. Cool. So what's one thing you've learned while working in the media industry that you would like to share with others?
One thing that I have learned is that the hustle will get you where you need to be. Coming in every day, you know, everybody complains about their job. Whether you could still enjoy your job and have a complaint, oh, my boss sucks, or this or that, and you can still enjoy your job. But I think if you always come in with a hustler's mentality, especially in media, you will get as far as your hustle is. And so, like, for me, for example, like, when I lived in Atlanta, I had anywhere from 3 to 5 jobs at one time. One job would be whatever pays the bills. The other one would be something that I did for fun. And the other one was something that I thought was going to help me advance my career. And then additional after that would just be, you know, like little things like modeling gigs or something like that, something small. But I definitely think that hustling is the biggest lesson that you will learn in this industry. You have deadlines, you have show times, you have, you know, things have to be in on time. TV doesn't stop just because your stuff doesn't get in, you know? And whether that's news or sports or politics, you know, whatever the case may be, you have to provide something. You have to always deliver your content. You know why? Because that is your job to make sure that it gets in. And your boss is looking at you like, oh, your interview didn't work out? Okay, so what other interview did you get? Or, you know, how are we gonna cover that with something else? You have to constantly be creative, constantly be thinking, constantly be hustling. Like, you know, things aren't always gonna go how you think, but what can I do to make it better? What can I do to, you know, change the story up a little bit, or get another interview with 5 minutes until we go live on air and I need an interview? Like, things like that. Just hustling, and having determination. It'll teach you that real quick when you don't make your deadline.
Yeah. That's interesting.
It's stressful. It's so stressful. But it's a good stressful. It's like adrenaline. But it's also not stressful. I mean, it's also not a good stressful. But, you know, if you do miss that deadline, that's, you know. Has that happened to you? Don't miss the deadline.
Has that happened to you before?
No, I've never missed a deadline, but I've seen it happen to other people. And it's not necessarily that you're going to get fired or anything like that. It's just, you know, people are always watching you, you know? So whether your boss shows that she or he is mad at the time doesn't mean that they're not taking a mental note that this person didn't get that in, you know, or they didn't turn a creative story. Once their interview, you know, person bailed on them, they just kind of said, oh, well, you know. Oh, well, like, what do we do now, you know? Wow. You should always just be thinking on your toes, basically.
Right. Okay. Well, inspire, empower, uplift is the slogan of the Black Maverick. So do you have any encouraging words you would like to share with the Black community?
I guess I could just relate it to me as far as, like, how I would deliver it. I live by the quote, or try to live by the quote, aspire to inspire. So I would definitely just remind our people that we have, I don't want to say a target on our backs, even though some would describe it that way. But I would remind our people that, people are always watching us. And whether that is a good thing or a bad thing, it's a fact. And so I just encourage people to always remember that, when people are watching you, you want to show them the best you that there is. And, if your brand is this amazing basketball player that, wasn't very good in high school, but then he ended up getting drafted and now he plays overseas or whatever the case may be, some little boy is looking up to you, even if you're not thinking about it that way, you're just thinking of it about how you can make this money or whatever the case may be, there is somebody always watching you.
Right.
Especially nowadays, everybody has social media to some degree, whether it just be a Twitter or an Instagram or a Facebook or whatever. People watch what you post. People watch what you talk about. We're always being watched. And inspiring somebody is something positive that can come out of always being watched. So just use your platform, whether it be social media, sports, politics, whatever the case may be, to kind of like your slogan, inspire, empower, and uplift somebody else. So yeah, that's definitely what I would say to people, is just to remember that we're always being watched, and you want to just shine that positive. You want to make that a positive light to shine for others.
Right. I like that quote. Okay, so if anyone wanted to get in contact with you, how could they do that?
My social media contacts are pretty much all the same. My Instagram and Twitter is simply me _ Lenice, Lenice. That's my middle name. My Twitter is just that, at Simply Me Lenice, and my Instagram is at simplymелenice.tv, so that people can search it easier. My Facebook business page is Iyani Hughes TV. You can just type it in. And then my email is Iyani.Hughes@gmail.com.
Okay, great.
Oh, and my website, IyaniHughes.com. Sorry.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for participating in this interview. I really enjoyed talking to you. You have grown so much.
It's crazy because you actually knew me before, I started working and stuff like that. So
exactly, when you just became a communication major.
Yeah.
You were like, yeah, I tried nursing, but
it didn't work.
Didn't work out. And I was like, girl, I get it, because I was a biology pre-med major before I went to exercise science. And I could not pass biology. I could not pass organic chemistry. So I had to find something else to do. But I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you. I'm proud of you as well. This is pretty cool. I like this a lot.
Okay. And I know whenever that blessing comes around, I should be the first person you think about.
I'll make sure I throw you some... Just alley-oop that, throw you a little 10% over there. No, I'm just...
Right.